We must listen to the voices of protesters. We must listen to the changes that they are demanding.
Black Lives Matter isn't just a chant or a hashtag on social media. As a black man living in this country where people who look like me are, as you know, constantly under attack, my wife, standing right next to me here, is afraid for my life, the life of her brother, our nephews, and our future children, and the students that we see every day. I'm speaking on behalf of her because she is flooded with emotion thinking about us in this constant state of danger, as she is right now. Thank you for that applause, but we're not looking to be lauded as a model couple of what can and should be done, but rather we want more people protesting and raising the awareness of a long-standing and persistent injustice.
Begins with a truth-telling about who we are as a nation and what the role of slavery and oppression has been. And so H.R. 40, which is a federal bill to create a commission to study reparations, is the beginning process of that truth-telling. I think when we talk more specifically about policing practices, qualified immunity, which is a grant of protection to law enforcement to protect them from liability for constitutional violations, is something that the Supreme Court has continued to expand. There is a way for Congress to limit the length to which officers can benefit from qualified immunity, or just to begin at the municipal or local level to talk about divesting from police and reinvesting in community-based alternatives to violence prevention and crime reduction.
This is biased, racially biased technology that threatens our core rights and freedoms. This technology could actually eliminate anonymity and privacy in public space.
J. Edgar Hoover, as director of the FBI, required that all Black college students be surveilled. In the mid-'80s, the DEA instituted Operation Pipeline to stop Black and brown drivers and to question them and potentially detain them based on a fight against the war on drugs. For example, in Boston, Memphis, and New York City, we're seeing emails and other documents that show that they have used social media to surveil Black Lives Matter activists, and the FBI is using surveillance tactics to identify and surveil what they've deemed Black identity extremists. Stopping law enforcement's use of facial recognition technology is one step that we can take. It won't stop systemic racism, but it will take one powerful tool away from the institutions that surveil Black and brown communities.
I didn't ever expect the police to show up at our doorstep and arrest my husband.
He turns another paper over and he say, "I guess this not you either." I pick that paper up and hold it next to my face. "This is not me." I'm like, "I hope y'all don't think all Black people look alike." And then he says, "The computer says it's you."
Face surveillance is the most dangerous of these technologies. There are two primary ways today governments use technologies like this. One is face recognition. That's to identify someone in an image. The second is face surveillance, which can be used in concert with surveillance camera networks and databases to create records of all people's public movements, habits, and associations, effectively creating a digital panopticon.
Families are being torn apart, forced into encampments on the Mexican-American border by our government.
Unfortunately, the court ruled that at least for people who had just entered in at the border and seeking asylum, they are not entitled to their day in court. It really boiled down to something very simple, and that's when the government says they're going to take away a right of yours.
I feel like the great part about this country is we can show who we are and show that, we're also part of this country. We're trying to do what's best. So, I'm not angry, I'm not upset, I just feel like if we all kind of tell our stories and show people who we are, they'll see the other side of the coin.
I think that we have to look at what's going on in the prisons today in that respect as being a signal of what might possibly come in the society as a whole.
Told him, do not worry, it's probably just a common cold. Just keep doing what I told him to do as far as trying his best to isolate, but there was really no way to, social distance or isolate when you're with 50 other gentlemen in one common space. So had just one person help me, I believe my husband would have still been here. No one deserved it. They're human beings back there.
Massachusetts does not have the death penalty as a matter of law, and unless we change course right now, we're going to have the death penalty as a matter of fact.
In any given society, what goes on in the prisons reflects very important elements of the society as a whole.
Voters agreed to restore voting rights to convicted felons.
The new law has given an estimated 1.4 million people who've completed their sentences the right to vote in the next election.
Not only do I see myself differently, but the state now sees me differently. The state now sees me as somebody that is worthy to have a voice again.
I really feel like a citizen, not just a person, but I would feel like an American.
No one should have to choose between protecting their health or exercising their right to vote.
They're telling us to stay in the house, but then one of the most important times, they're forcing us to come out here.
Making vote by mail an option for all eligible voters is just common sense.
The appeals court has struck down a North Carolina voter ID law. Civil rights groups have slammed the law, claiming it discriminates against minorities and the poor.
They said it was clear that the intent was to target African Americans with, quote, surgical precision.
I think one of the things that's different about now compared to Ferguson is that we see a greater readiness right now to have come into fruition the honor and dignity that Black women, Black queer folks, Black gender non-binary folks, and Black trans folks have in their centrality to this movement.
To honor the fact that this has been a movement that we have been building for decades, for centuries, and that
movement that we stand on the shoulders of.
We stand on the shoulders of so many lawyers who came before us, and even more importantly than that, so many people who lived and died in the streets, and we carry them into the courtroom today.
At one point I was like, this is history. This is the first time the Supreme Court is speaking the name saying transgender.
In my heart, I know I've always been right. We're as human and American as any other person living in this country.
We march today for equal rights for LGBTQ people and their families because freedom is our agenda. We demand equal rights for women because freedom is our agenda. We demand equal pay for equal work because freedom is our agenda. We march for an America free from discrimination, and we believe that Black lives matter. We know that when the rights of one person are threatened, the rights of all of us are at risk.